podcast. Your host, Dr. KellyRae, is a renowned mindset coach and counselor, often referred to as the inner critic tamer. With a passion for guiding individuals through life's challenges, she specializes in personal growth and emotional healing. In each episode, Dr. KellyRae shares invaluable insights, practical strategies, and relatable stories designed to inspire you to take that first step toward positive change. So, grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and get ready to dive deep into meaningful conversations that empower you on your journey. Let's welcome Dr. KellyRae.
Hey there, welcome back to the Getting Into the Week podcast. I'm Dr. KellyRae, and if you're new here, thank you so much for joining. This space exists for one reason, to have real conversation about what it means to be human in a world that feels overwhelming, uncertain, and at times incredibly intense. Each week we explore emotional awareness, nervous system regulation, personal growth, and the deeper inner work that helps us move through life with a little more steadiness and a little more compassion for ourselves. Because let's be honest, sometimes getting through the week is no small thing. Lately, there's something I've been noticing. There's this quiet expectation that this time of year is supposed to feel like a fresh start. Like we should have more energy, feel more motivated, have more clarity about what's next. Spring shows up, the days get longer, the weather shifts. And somehow we're supposed to feel ready. Ready to move forward, ready to do more, ready to begin again. But if I'm being honest, that's not what I've been hearing from people. What I've been hearing sounds more like, oof, I feel tired. I'm so tired of feeling tired. Or, I want to do things, but I just don't have the energy. I just can't seem to, I used to be a go person all the time. And now it seems like I can just barely get up. What in the world? Or, I don't know why, but everything just feels a little heavier right now. And if that's been your experience too, I want you to know, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with you. Today I want to talk about why you might not feel the energy to spring forward right now. And more importantly, what your nervous system might actually need instead. But before we go forward, I want to go back for just a moment. Not to stay there, but to remember. Because I don't think we've fully acknowledged what we've actually lived through. I want to take us back to March 2020. 6 years ago, the recording of this episode. Now known as COVID pandemic. Life changed in ways most of us had never experienced before. We saw things. People panic buying basic necessities. When I think back to 2019, 2020, and just a couple of years prior to that, it seemed like the craze had been everybody was eating keto, right? Cutting out rice, pasta, bread, those kinds of things. I remember specifically as COVID was breaking out and all of the uncertainty was happening, needing to go to the grocery store, hadn't really even considered grocery delivery at that point. And walking into the store, again, you could just feel this energy of buzz happening. They had spots on the floor that you had to stand, and, then all of a sudden, plexiglass going up between you and the cashier and the shelves, right? I remember walking down the aisle and seeing there was no rice, no bagged beans, no pasta, and totally wiped out. And I'm like, oh my God, did I miss the memo? Are we going back now to the time period where we were told fat was really bad for us, and so we just loaded up on those kinds of carbs? Switched out the fat for, fat-free Entenmann's bakery treats. I mean, what is happening right now? It was so surreal to see that. And then the arguing over things like toilet paper. Oh my God. I remember just hearing people arguing and fighting physically. I mean, I remember even hearing of a Costco worker pushing a crate of toilet paper that had just come in out to the floor and nearly getting accosted for merely bringing out a merchandise that people were losing their minds over to get a hold of, as if it was a life support item that they were picking up. Communities divided. And I don't mean, yes, globally, regionally, your town, your city, your friends, your home, divided over mask. Families separated. People getting sick, like a lot of people at one time, not just a coworker or two missing from work. Vast amounts of people getting sick. And in many cases, people dying alone in hospitals where you couldn't even go be with your loved ones. There was fear. There was uncertainty. There was a loss of control that touched nearly every part of life. And at the same time, there was this completely different experience happening. Slower mornings, quiet streets, people outside walking, talking, reconnecting in simple ways. Almost like the world took a breath. But here's what mattered most. We didn't all experience the same version of that time, but our nervous systems were all impacted by it. This is the part we don't talk about. The world reopened, but our nervous system didn't just go, okay, we're cool, it's done, we're good to go now. Because your nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to experience. And when your body goes through prolonged uncertainty, fear, lack of control, emotional intensity, it adapts. It learns to stay alert, to scan, to be ready, even when things look normal again. And this is where people get confused, because nervous system dysregulation doesn't always look dramatic. It often feels like Your shoulders are tight and you don't even realize it. Your breath is a little shallow. Maybe you're sighing more, but not, again, even aware that you're sighing. Your mind keeps scanning for what could go wrong. You can't fully relax even when nothing is wrong. Or you feel tired in a way that rest doesn't quite fix. That's not you being lazy. That's your body saying, I've been holding a lot for a long time. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because it doesn't always show up when things are falling apart. It shows up when things are actually going well. When you're stepping into something new. When you feel open, connected, even excited. I've been noticing this in myself recently. Moments where I feel open, connected, even excited. And then almost immediately, something in me tightens. Not dramatically, just enough to feel it. Questions start. Doubt creeps in. And there's this quiet pull to step back just a little. Not because something is wrong, but because something feels unfamiliar. And as I sit with that, I started noticing a pattern. Vulnerability, then protection, then anxiety, then old thoughts, then the inner critic. Ooh, and can she get loud? She says things like, who do you think you are? You're not enough. Someone else would be better. Who are you fooling, girl? This won't last. This won't work. But here's what I'm realizing. That voice isn't truth. It's protection. And I think this is where so many people are right now. You don't feel aligned with who you used to be anymore. But you don't fully feel safe being who you're becoming yet. You've outgrown old patterns. You've learned a lot about yourself through these experiences, but your body hasn't fully caught up to the new ones. So you end up in this space where going back doesn't feel right anymore. But moving forward doesn't feel solid yet either. I remember also hearing during that time period that we're talking about, during the last 6 years, especially after the first year or two when things started to reopen again, is people just saying, I just want things to go back to normal. I want things to go back to normal. And then when you would just talk about it a little further, there would be things that they would say, well, but I don't want to go back to that. And, ooh, I didn't like that. And so what is it? Do you want to go back to normal? What is normal? You want to go back to what's familiar. You want to go back to what you thought you had control over. You want to go back to the thing that you felt most certain about. But do you really? Because oftentimes we will have moments that come in our life where that comes in front of us and we're like, oh, I don't want to go back to that. I just don't want to feel this right now. So I'm going to pose something to you. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me, or why am I feeling this way, what if we asked, what is my nervous system trying to protect me from? And is it that protection still necessary? And maybe, even more importantly, what if this isn't regression, but expansion your body is still learning how to hold? I think about that as I'm experiencing right now, working with an incredible group of women where I'm teaching them how to, it's a program called Soft 30 Reset. And these are for women that are, have been very strong, very resilient, have gone through who knows what they've gone through. But each one of them has gone through their own journey and have been resilient and tenacious and strong and has held it all together for themselves and everyone else. And so it's not a matter of them being strong. But a lot of times our nervous system has programmed us to be in that state that we forgot, especially as women, what it is to be soft. Because we feel that if we're anything but strong, that might equate to weakness. And being vulnerable is really tough. So to be able to watch as they've grown through that experience of having to see as they're working through things, that they're not regressing, they're just becoming aware. Right? There's a difference when you're being triggered by something from your past and acknowledging, oh, I'm being triggered, or that upset me, you upset me, to, oh, I'm witnessing myself respond to being triggered. Interesting. Right? Because when we sit in that observer seat, it's not enough to just acknowledge I've been triggered. It's like, oh, I'm watching that. How do I respond? Where am I holding this? What is it in my body? That's what I see a lot of us, men and women, going through still. Hence the reason you might be seeing so much more information on websites, social media sites, around nervous system. Because it is something very, very real. It is a survival mechanism, and a lot of us don't even realize that we adapted to that way of living through COVID because we are amazing human beings, right? And we are programmed to survive. So even when things get tough and out of control and intense, we adapt to that environment. And then when we're no longer in those environments, we forget to re-regulate our systems to being in the I'm all right environment, right? And I think that's where a lot of us are. So if you don't feel the energy to spring forward right now, maybe it's not because you're stuck. Maybe it's because your body is still catching up to everything you've moved through. What if this season isn't asking you to do more, but to recover and release more? So if things have felt a little heavier lately, if you haven't had the energy you think you should have, if part of you wants to move forward, but another part feels like it's holding back, you're not broken, you're not behind, and there's nothing wrong with you. Your nervous system might just be asking for something different than what the world is telling you to do. And sometimes that starts with something very simple. A pause. A breath. a moment where you remind yourself, right now, in this moment, I'm okay. Before we close today, I want to leave you with this question. How would your experience of this season change if instead of trying to push forward, you allowed your body the space to arrive there in its own time? This is often something that happens for survivalist abuse. I can say for myself, as somebody who had been sexually abused, even though logically my brain had worked through, hey, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm no longer in this space for somebody to violate me, my physical body had not shifted into knowing that it was safe, right? Because our bodies are dense and it's hanging on until we have to learn to work through it. And we don't work through it logically because emotions are tied into the physical density that's in our body, because these things store in our cellular bodies. So give yourself some grace. Give yourself an opportunity to reach out, to ask for more help as you do that, so you don't have to go it alone. I want to thank you so much for spending part of your week with me, and I look forward to being with you again next week. Until then, please know I send you so much.
Thank you for
love.
joining us for another episode of the Getting Through the Week podcast with Dr. KellyRae. If you're looking to connect with her or schedule an appointment, here's how you can reach her. Follow her on Instagram at AskDrKellyRae. Check out her Facebook page at Dr. KellyRae. Find her on TikTok at Dr. KellyRae. Visit her website at drkellyrae.com. Or send her an email at drkellyrae@gmail.com. Until next week, Dr. KellyRae sends you so much love.